I never thought this would be my life. I'm Jake, a regular guy with a decent job in sales, a modest house, and a wife who at least I thought loved me. Her name is Melissa, and we've been married for 6 years. As with any relationship, we had our ups and downs, but I always believed we were solid. However, looking back, there were definitely signs I ignored or rationalized away. The first sign was subtle. Melissa started spending more time on her phone, always texting or scrolling through social media. I dismissed it at first. Everyone is glued to their screens these days, right? Then there were her late nights out with the girls. She'd always come home with the kind of stories that left me feeling uneasy. Like one time she had dinner with them, but when I asked about it, she mentioned they just ate at a fast food joint after a long shopping spree. I thought to myself, who needs to spend that much time shopping? But I brushed it off. Melissa always had a flair for drama. It was a Friday night when my world began to unravel. I had been looking forward to a quiet evening at home with her, just the two of us. Instead, I came home to find her getting ready for a night out. She wore that tight red dress I always loved, but I could tell something was off as she practically shoved me out the door. "I'll be back late," she said, her voice a little too cheerful. I felt a pang of jealousy, but I told myself it was fine, that she deserved a night out after a long week. But that night, something gnawed at me. I decided to check her laptop while she was out. I figured I'd surprise her with a little candle-lit dinner when she got home, so I opened her email. I didn't expect to find anything, but then I saw an email from John, the owner of the local amusement park. It wasn't just a casual email, it was flirty. My heart dropped. I read further and my stomach twisted into knots as I saw mentions of fun nights together and can't wait to see you again. I felt sick. I didn't want to believe what I was reading, but I had to face the facts. This wasn't just a friendly relationship, it was clearly something more. My mind raced as I thought of all the signs I had ignored. I could see it all clearly now, the late nights, the change in her attitude, the way she'd smile at her phone. I had been living in a fool's paradise. When Melissa returned that night, her energy was different. She was too bubbly, too eager to embrace me. I could smell the perfume on her that wasn't hers. The confrontation that followed was like a tornado tearing through my life. "What is this?" I held up my phone, showing her the email. She froze, her smile fading as guilt washed over her face. "Jake, I can explain," she stammered, her eyes darting around the room like a trapped animal. I felt the rage boil up inside me. "Explain what? That you've been cheating on me with some theme park owner?" I could hardly recognize my own voice, thick with rage and betrayal. She had the audacity to cry, "It's not what you think. John is just a friend. We've been working on a project together." But the look in her eyes told me everything. I knew I was just another option, a placeholder until someone more exciting came along. Her tears felt like salt in a wound. They didn't reach me, and I felt an overwhelming sense of betrayal. I stormed out, leaving her sobbing in our living room. My heart was pounding, my head spinning. I felt like I was in a dream, a nightmare from which I couldn't wake. I had trusted her, and she had crushed that trust under the weight of her lies. I drove around aimlessly, my mind racing. Anger, sadness, and betrayal swirled together in a toxic mix, and I knew I had a choice to make. I was done feeling like a victim. I needed to take control. I didn't know exactly how, but I knew I would find a way to make her understand the repercussions of her choices. The idea of revenge bubbled up within me, and suddenly I had a goal. I wouldn't just wallow in my sorrow. I would build something great, something she would never be a part of again. I decided to start on the path to my own amusement empire, something that would not only be a distraction but a way to show her what she lost. I'd make sure she would never enjoy my success. I wanted her to see how I transformed my pain into something powerful. I needed to find my strength and purpose in this chaos, and I was about to embark on a journey that would change everything. What started as betrayal would become a catalyst for my own success, and as I plotted my next steps, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The drive home that night was a blur. I felt a cocktail of emotions swirling inside me, anger, shame, sadness, and they wrestled for dominance as I navigated the empty streets. I parked in our driveway, but instead of going inside, I sat there with my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly, thinking about everything that had just transpired. Melissa was inside, likely still crying, but I couldn't bring myself to face her. There was nothing left to say. Instead, I turned my phone on and started researching theme parks. It was a chaotic impulse, but I couldn't shake the idea of starting my own amusement empire. Why did I have to settle for a mundane life when I could create something extraordinary? The more I thought about it, the more it ignited a fire within me. I wanted to show Melissa and John, for that matter, what they had lost. I spent the next few days immersed in research. I pored over articles on theme park management, marketing strategies, and attractions that drew crowds. I watched countless YouTube videos showcasing the coolest rides and the most creative park designs. I was fascinated. There was a world out there that I had never considered, one filled with creativity, excitement, and the chance to build something from the ground up. While I was diving into this new obsession, I made a point to keep my distance from Melissa. I didn't want to hear her excuses or her attempts to justify her actions. I needed my space to think clearly. I focused on my new goal, to create something that would stand in stark contrast to the betrayal I felt. I wanted my amusement park to be a symbol of my resilience. Over the weeks, I started outlining a business plan. I envisioned a park that would feature thrilling rides, family-friendly attractions, and immersive experiences that would draw people in like moths to a flame. I couldn't help but chuckle at the irony. While she was off having her fun with John, I was busting my ass figuring out how to build a legacy. But the more I worked on this plan, the more I realized I needed capital. I didn't have much saved up, so I started looking into loans and investors. I reached out to old friends, acquaintances, and even a few business mentors I had met in my sales career. The responses were encouraging. People were interested in the concept, and some were willing to help me get started. I felt a surge of hope and excitement. This was real. I was actually going to do it. At the same time, I made sure to keep my relationship with Melissa strictly transactional. We lived under the same roof, but it was more like being roommates than a married couple. I could see the guilt eating away at her. She would try to talk to me, asking if we could go to couples therapy or if we could just work things out. But I wasn't interested. I was building a future without her. One evening, I was poring over my plans. In the living room when she walked in, her expression a mix of desperation and regret. "Jake, can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling. I looked up from my notes, barely restraining my disdain. "What could you possibly say that would change anything?" I shot back. She sat down across from me, tears welling up in her eyes. "I messed up. I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I want to fix this. I love you, Jake." I took a deep breath, feeling a mix of anger and pity. "Loved me enough to cheat on me? That's your version of love." I couldn't believe she was trying to play the victim. "You've made your choices, Melissa. I'm done. I'm focusing on my park now." Her face fell, and I could see the realization hit her. She had lost me, not just to another person, but to a vision I was committed to. I didn't want her in my future. I wanted to create something that would stand as a testament to my strength. The next day, I had a meeting with a potential investor. The man was in his mid-50s, dressed in a crisp suit, and had a reputation for taking risks on innovative projects. As we discussed my ideas over coffee, I felt a rush of confidence. I pitched him my vision for the park, a place where families could escape reality, where laughter echoed through the air, and where joy was the main attraction. To my surprise, he was hooked. "I love it, Jake. Let's explore how we can make this happen," he said, giving me a nod of approval. In that moment, I felt a surge of validation and excitement. This was not just a pipe dream, it was starting to take shape. As I walked out of that meeting, my phone buzzed with a message from Melissa. "Can we meet tonight? I really need to talk." I didn't respond. At that moment, I realized I didn't just want to build a theme park. I wanted to build a life apart from her, one that she would never be a part of again. I felt stronger, more empowered than I had in a long time. I was ready to turn my pain into something monumental. My amusement empire was underway, and I was determined to make it a success, one that would leave Melissa watching from the sidelines. As the months rolled on, I dove headfirst into planning my amusement park. Days turned into nights filled with excitement and anxiety as I worked on securing loans, drafting designs, and figuring out the nitty-gritty details of running an amusement business. I was on a mission, and nothing, not even Melissa, could distract me from my goal. She continued to reach out, trying to express her remorse and desire to reconcile, but I had built a wall around my heart. I watched her from a distance, seeing how she changed. The vibrant, lively woman I married was now a shadow of her former self. Clinging to her guilt, she seemed to be slowly crumbling under the weight of her own actions. It was a strange mix of emotions for me. Part of me felt pity, but mostly I felt empowered by the choice I made to move on. One evening, I finally agreed to meet her. I thought it might be time to at least have a civil conversation. We sat at a small cafe, the atmosphere filled with soft chatter and clinking dishes. As I sipped my coffee, I could see her fidgeting with her hands, her gaze fixed on the table. The tension between us was palpable. "Jake, I miss you," she started, her voice quivering. "I miss us. I messed up and I can't express how sorry I am." "Sorry doesn't cut it, Melissa," I replied, my tone firm. "You made a choice to betray me. That's not something I can easily forgive." She looked hurt, her eyes glistening with tears. "I know I hurt you, but can't we at least try? I've changed. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right," she pleaded. I leaned back in my chair, crossing my arms tightly. "What do you want me to say? That I can forget the fact that you cheated on me? Because I can't. I'm building something bigger than both of us now, and I won't let you back in." Her face fell. I could see the realization that I was serious, that I meant every word I said. "You're building this park, and I get it, but I want to be a part of it." "I want to support you," she said, her voice desperate. I chuckled. A bitter sound. "You want to support me? You lost the right to be part of my life when you chose to sleep with John. This park is my vision, and it represents everything I'm capable of achieving without you. I'm not looking back." That was the last time we spoke. After that, Melissa seemed to retreat further into herself, and I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. It was clear that she was grappling with her own demons as I was busy forging ahead with mine. In the meantime, my investor came through with the funds. We secured a plot of land on the outskirts of town that had potential for expansion. I started hiring a team of designers and engineers, fueling my vision with a sense of urgency. I wanted to create the most thrilling rides, captivating attractions, and experiences that would leave families with smiles on their faces. My goal was simple. I wanted to create a place where happiness was the currency, and I was determined to make it happen. With every meeting I had, every design I reviewed, and every planning session, I felt the weight of my anger transforming into something tangible. I poured my heart and soul into this project, and my passion was contagious. The team I assembled was excited, and they believed in my vision. It was a powerful feeling, one that reminded me of why I was doing this in the first place. Then came the groundbreaking day. We held a small ceremony with the team and the investor as we marked the start of construction. I stood there, shovel in hand, while cameras clicked and reporters buzzed around us. I felt a rush of pride as I looked at the empty land that would soon be transformed into a bustling amusement park. This was my moment, a tangible representation of my journey from betrayal to triumph. As I stood there, I couldn't help but glance around the crowd, half expecting to see Melissa. I knew deep down that she wouldn't come. The shame of her actions loomed over her like a dark cloud, and I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that I was moving forward while she was stuck in her mistakes. Time passed and the park started to take shape. I spent countless hours on site, overseeing the construction and brainstorming ideas for rides. The adrenaline rush of being involved in something so colossal was exhilarating, but I also had to navigate the challenges that came with it. There were delays, budget overruns, and design debates that tested my patience. Yet each obstacle only fueled my determination to succeed. One evening, after a long day of work, I received a text message that caught me off guard. It was from Melissa. "I saw the news about the park. I'm proud of you, Jake. You're doing amazing things." I stared at the screen, my heart racing. Part of me wanted to respond, to tell her how much her betrayal had hurt me, but I stopped myself. This was her attempt to reconnect, and I wouldn't allow that. I was building a life without her, one where I could thrive and be happy. I ignored the message and kept my focus on the impending opening day of the park. As the construction continued and excitement built, I felt a sense of purpose I hadn't experienced in years. I was transforming not just the land but myself. I was no longer the man who'd been cheated on. I was becoming a visionary, an entrepreneur, and a leader. I was ready to fully embrace this new chapter in my life and show everyone, especially Melissa, that I could rise above the betrayal and create something that would last. The countdown to opening day was on, and with each passing hour, I felt more alive than ever. I was creating an empire, and nothing would hold me back. The journey of revenge was turning into something far greater than I had ever imagined. As the grand opening day of the park approached, the excitement was palpable. I had spent nearly a year building this dream, and it was about to become a reality. The park, which I had named Wonderland Adventure Park, was positioned to be a thrilling escape for families and thrill seekers alike. Every detail had been meticulously planned, from the neon-lit entrances to the adrenaline-pumping rides. I envisioned the laughter, the joy, and the sense of community that my park would foster. In the final weeks leading up to the opening, my days were a whirlwind of activity. I was not just managing the construction, but also coordinating marketing efforts, finalizing staff training, and organizing the monumental opening ceremony. I felt a mix of exhilaration and anxiety. Would people come? Would they love it as much as I hoped? As the park took shape, I found myself taking on more than just the role of owner. I was quickly becoming the face of the park. Local newspapers started to run stories about me and the park, showcasing my journey of resilience after betrayal and how I transformed a painful experience into something beautiful. I was garnering attention, and for the first time, I felt like I was in control of my own narrative. One evening, I was on site checking the final touches when I ran into a couple of my staff members. They were excitedly discussing their roles for the opening day, and I felt a rush of pride watching them thrive under the enthusiasm I had cultivated. "Hey, Jake," one of them said, "I just saw a post from Melissa on social media. She's been talking about the park a lot." That caught my attention. I hadn't thought about her in weeks, consumed by the demands of building my new life. "What's she saying?" I asked, trying to keep my tone casual. "She's posting about how proud she is of you and sharing all the articles about the park. Seems like she's really trying to get attention," another staff member added, a hint of disdain in their voice. I felt a strange twist in my gut. On one hand, it was nice to hear she was saying positive things, but on the other, it felt manipulative. I had put her behind me, and now she was trying to reinsert herself into my life through my success. I brushed off the information and focused on what truly mattered: the park. The night before the grand opening, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling an odd mix of anticipation and anxiety. This was it. I was about to unveil something that represented my hard work, my pain, and my triumph over betrayal. I could practically hear the excited chatter of families waiting in line, the thrill of children shrieking on rides, and the laughter echoing through the park. Finally, the big day arrived. The sun shone bright, and the air was filled with the sounds of joy and excitement as families started pouring into Wonderland Adventure Park. I stood at the entrance, heart racing, as I greeted the first guests with a smile. The energy was electric, and it felt surreal to see my dream come to life. As the day progressed, I watched families enjoy the rides, play games, and indulge in cotton candy. I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me with each laughter-filled moment. The park was a hit. I was finally creating happiness in a way I never thought possible. But just as I was soaking in the joy, I noticed someone standing off to the side, watching me. It was Melissa. She looked beautiful despite the circumstances. She had dressed up for the occasion, wearing a fitted blue dress that accentuated her figure. But there was something about her demeanor that seemed different. I watched as she hesitated, her eyes scanning the park, searching for me. I felt a mix of anger and confusion. Why was she here? I had hoped she would stay away, but the moment our eyes met, my heart sank. She approached me, her expression a mix of determination and vulnerability. "Jake," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "I came to see it for myself. This is amazing." "Yeah, it is," I replied curtly, trying to keep my emotions in check. I've worked hard for this. I know, she said, her eyes reflecting a hint of regret. I'm truly proud of you. I can see that you've turned your life around. I wanted to say I'm sorry for everything. I messed up so badly. I could feel my temper rising. You think showing up here, acting like everything is fine, changes anything? You hurt me, Melissa. Your apologies don't mean anything now. She looked taken aback, her face pale. I just wanted to be honest with you. I've been reflecting a lot and I realize what I lost. I want to support you, Jake. I can help. Help, I interrupted, my voice rising. You think you can just waltz back into my life and support me after everything? This park represents my freedom from you. I built this on my own and I don't need your help or your presence. I could see the tears welling in her eyes as the reality of my words sank in. I just wanted a chance to prove I can be better, she said, her voice breaking. To show you I've changed. I softened. For a moment my heart conflicted, but then I remembered the pain and betrayal, the feelings of inadequacy and humiliation. I couldn't allow her to undermine the significance of what I had built. You had your chance, Melissa. I'm moving forward and that doesn't include you. Her face fell and I could feel a wave of guilt wash over me. I had wanted to be strong, but seeing her so broken was hard. I hope you find happiness, I said, my voice softer now but still firm. Won't be with me. With that, I turned away, leaving her standing there as I rejoined the festivities of the park. I knew I had made the right choice, but a part of me couldn't shake the sadness that lingered. I had built this incredible place, and while I was proud, the interaction with Melissa reminded me of the emotional scars I still carried. As the day went on, I immersed myself in the joy around me. I watched families create memories, children's eyes widen with wonder and laughter fill the air. I was reminded that my purpose was greater than revenge. It was about creating happiness for others. I was finally moving on and it felt liberating. But deep down, I knew this journey wasn't just about revenge against Melissa. It was about reclaiming my life and finding joy in my own terms. In that realization, I found strength, and I was ready to embrace whatever came next. My amusement empire was just beginning, and I was determined to make it something extraordinary. As the weeks turned into months, Wonderland Adventure Park flourished beyond my wildest dreams. The opening day had been a resounding success, and I had garnered a loyal customer base that kept coming back for more. Families were flocking to the park, sharing their experiences on social media, and the buzz around town only grew. I felt invigorated by the positive energy surrounding me. However, my emotional journey was far from over. As I reveled in the success of the park, I couldn't help but think about Melissa and the choices I had made. I had spent so much time focusing on my revenge, but I also realized it was about reclaiming my identity. The park had given me purpose, but it didn't erase the scars of betrayal. One evening, I was at the park overseeing the staff as they prepared for a special event, a family fun night. The park was beautifully lit, and I could hear the laughter of children echoing through the air. As I walked through the park, I noticed something odd. A couple of employees were whispering and pointing towards the entrance. I followed their gaze and was taken aback to see Melissa standing there. She looked different from the last time I had seen her, more composed, perhaps even hopeful. She wore a casual outfit, but there was an air of determination about her. My heart raced. What was she doing here and why now? I felt a mixture of irritation and curiosity as I approached her. "What do you want, Melissa?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. "I came to talk again," she replied, her voice steady this time. "I know our last interaction was rough, but I've been doing a lot of soul searching. I realize I can't just expect you to forgive and forget. I need to show you that I'm serious about changing." I crossed my arms, skepticism etched on my face. "And how do you plan to do that?" "By hanging around my park and pretending everything is okay." She sighed, running a hand through her hair. "No, I want to help. I want to be part of the park, not as your wife, but as someone who believes in what you're creating. I've been working on myself, going to therapy, reflecting on my mistakes. I understand now what I lost, and I want to prove to you that I can be better." Her words caught me off guard. I had spent months building this empire as a way to reclaim my power, and now she wanted to be a part of it. I felt torn. On one hand, I didn't trust her. On the other, I couldn't deny that people can change. "What do you expect me to say?" I asked, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "You think I'm just going to let you back into my life and my business after everything? It doesn't work like that." "I know it doesn't, but I'm not asking for much. Just a chance to show you that I'm different. Help me and I'll help you. Maybe I can bring some fresh ideas to the park. You know I've always had a knack for creativity." I hesitated, envisioning all the hard work and pain I had endured to create this place. Even if she had changed, could I really risk my hard-earned success on her? "Why now, Melissa?" I pressed. "Why this sudden change of heart?" "Because I've seen what you've built, Jake. I see the happiness you're creating for people, and I want to be part of it, even if it's just as a friend. I regret what I did, and I want to make amends. I don't expect you to forgive me overnight, but I'm hoping you'll at least consider it." I took a deep breath, my mind racing. I didn't want to open that door again, but part of me wondered if it could be worth it. Could she really contribute positively to the park, or would it just bring chaos back into my life? Maybe I could give her a chance without compromising my vision. "All right," I finally said, surprising myself. "You can come on as an event coordinator. Just one event. If you can handle that without any drama, then we'll see where it goes from there." Her eyes lit up with excitement. "Thank you, Jake. I promise I'll do my best. You won't regret this." As we discussed ideas for the upcoming event, an end-of-summer festival, I felt a strange mix of hope and caution. I didn't want to let my guard down, but I also couldn't ignore the possibility that she might genuinely change. It felt like stepping onto a tightrope, balancing the potential for disaster with the hope of something positive. The night of the festival arrived, and the park was buzzing with energy. Families filled the grounds, enjoying games, rides, and food stalls. I could see Melissa working with the staff, coordinating games and interacting with the guests. She seemed to be in her element, and for the first time, I saw a glimpse of the woman I fell in love with. As the night progressed, I watched her transform from the person who hurt me into someone who was genuinely contributing to something I had built. It was hard not to feel the weight of my initial anger shift. Maybe there was a chance for us in a different capacity. The event was a hit, and the joy radiating around the park was infectious. I found myself smiling as I watched families enjoying the festival, laughter filling the air. I even caught myself laughing at a joke Melissa made with a group of children. The night felt like a celebration of not just the park's success, but also the possibility of new beginnings. However, as the night drew to a close, I couldn't help but feel a tinge of anxiety about how this would play out. Had I made a mistake by allowing her back into my life, even in a limited capacity? Would this lead to old wounds reopening, or could it help us both heal? As the fireworks lit up the night sky, painting vibrant colors across the darkness, I realized that life is unpredictable. I had come so far, and while I had built an amusement empire, I was still navigating the complexities of my emotions. Rebuilding a relationship, even in a different form, would take time and trust. As I stood there, watching the dazzling display above, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I could allow myself to embrace this new chapter in my life. Perhaps I could find a way to blend the past with the future, creating a new path forward. The journey wasn't over yet, but for the first time since the betrayal, I felt ready to face whatever came next. In the weeks that followed the festival, I found myself in an unfamiliar position, tentatively allowing Melissa back into my life. She was working diligently as the event coordinator, bringing fresh ideas and a surprising amount of creativity to the table. I was taken aback by her efficiency and how she connected with families and guests in a way that felt genuine. For the first time in a long while, I could see glimpses of the woman I'd once loved. But with those glimpses came the constant battle between caution and hope. The memory of her betrayal was never far from my mind, and every time I sensed a misstep, I felt the urge to retreat, to protect what I had built. Yet I also recognized that healing required vulnerability, and this was my attempt to find a middle ground. During the nights we spent working together, we started having deeper conversations. She opened up about her struggles during our marriage, her feelings of inadequacy, and how she had never truly appreciated what we had until it was gone. I listened, sometimes skeptical, but I couldn't deny that she seemed earnest in her desire to make amends. One evening, as we were closing up after a busy day, she turned to me with a serious expression. "Jake, I know I've hurt you in ways that can't be undone, but I want you to know how much I admire what you've created here. You've built something incredible out of pain, and I want to be a part of it, not just the park, but your life, if you'll let me." I felt a pang in my chest. I had spent so long building walls around my heart. "Melissa, it's not that simple. Trust is earned, and I can't just forget the past because you say you've changed." "I understand that," she said, her voice steady, "but I'm willing to prove myself. I'm not asking for your heart back right away. I just want the chance to show you I can be someone you want around." That was the moment I realized I had a decision to make. I had lived in the shadow of her betrayal for too long, and while I was ready to explore a new beginning, I needed to set boundaries. If we're going to do this, we need to establish some ground rules. I'm not interested in rekindling what we had. I want to focus on the park, and if our friendship grows from there, then maybe we can see where it leads. She nodded, a look of understanding washing over her face. "I can accept that. I'll prove myself to you, Jake. I'm ready to work for it." As time passed, things started to shift naturally. We began to build a relationship based on mutual respect, and I noticed she was genuinely invested in the park's success. We celebrated milestones together, and each small achievement felt like a step toward healing. While I remained cautious about fully opening my heart, I appreciated her contributions, and I could see her slowly becoming part of the fabric of my life again. Then came the day of our first major seasonal event, a Halloween festival that promised to draw in big crowds. The park was transformed into a spooky wonderland, filled with haunted houses, costume contests, and festive games. It was a hectic but thrilling time, and we worked late into the nights preparing. On the night of the event, the park was alive with energy. Families arrived in droves, laughter and screams of delight filled the air, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of community. I looked around and saw how far we had come, and just as I began to feel at peace, I caught sight of Melissa. She was dressed in a witch costume, complete with a hat, interacting with children and directing staff with an infectious enthusiasm. I stood off to the side, watching her with a mix of admiration and caution. It was strange how something so simple could stir feelings in me. As the night wore on, I made my way towards her, caught up in the excitement. "You're really killing it tonight," I said, a genuine smile creeping onto my face. "Thanks, this has turned out better than I expected," she replied, beaming. "I'm so glad you took a chance on me, Jake. It means the world." In that moment, I realized how much I appreciated seeing her flourish. Yes, there was a long road ahead, but perhaps this was the start of something new. Friendship built on understanding and growth. As the event came to a close, we stood together, watching the last guests leave the park, the glow of the lights twinkling around us. "You did good tonight, Melissa," I said softly. "I'm proud of what we've created." "Thank you, Jake. I couldn't have done it without your vision and support," she replied, her eyes reflecting sincerity. "It feels like we're finally moving forward together." I nodded, feeling hopeful. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt a sense of closure. Maybe it was the beginning of a renewed connection, one built with honesty and time. I knew there would be challenges ahead, but I was ready to face them. I had rebounded from a place of hurt into something extraordinary, and that in itself was a victory. With a deep breath, I turned to her and said, "Let's keep building together, but let's do it right this time." And as we walked away from the park, side by side, I realized I was no longer haunted by the past. I was stepping into the light of a new beginning, ready to embrace whatever came next. Wonderland. Adventure Park was not just my success. It was a symbol of resilience, second chances, and the potential for new paths in life. I had transformed my pain into something beautiful, and now I was ready to share that journey, even if it meant doing so with the very person who had once caused my heartache. In the end, sometimes the most unexpected turns lead us to the places we never imagined we could go.